Welcome to another edition of the Giants Huddle podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. John Schmeelk, Paul Dottino, joined by one of the great analysts from the NFL Network, Lance Zierlein. Lance, what's going on, man?
Not too much. I'm excited. It's my time of year.
All right,
I love it.
We are not going to bore you with a lot of quarterback talk today. We're going to try to hit a lot of the other positions. We've done quarterback with a lot of the other guys. So I'm going to start with this. If you're the Giants, and let's say you get a quarterback in free agency, you're not worried about quarterback in the draft, and you can sit there and you can choose between Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. Who do you take and why?
Well, I always take Rush first. But I also am thinking I'm going to go through the process. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work through my division first. So in my division, I've got Jaden Daniels, he's going to be a problem for years to come. You got Dak Prescott. And they're still feeling themselves out. Why? I don't know. They could really change quite a bit over the next 3 years, but we'll see. You can never go wrong with Rush. But, if you go cornerback, all right, you got Terry. I got a guy to guard Terry McLaurin. I got a guy for CeeDee Lamb if he's still there. I got a guy for A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. I don't really think there's a wrong answer. I think the big difference here is Abdul Carter is within the parameters of a typical early pick physically, and Travis Hunter is thin.
5'11", 185, right?
185-ish. Yeah. And so, I think that's my problem there is that I don't want him to break down. How many snaps do you think Travis Hunter's had over the last 2 years? Take a guess.
Ooh.
I'll tell you, a typical year is going to be like, for a wide receiver, will be something like 650 to 750 snaps.
They play so many games now. Say probably the last 3 years, say about...
Last 2 years.
2,500.
2,600. That's
nice.
A good one. 2,600 is the equivalent of 4 years of college football.
Right.
I look at snap counts for players. When I see 3,000, you've played a ton of football. If you get a lot of these guys are 16, 17, 1,800 snaps. Travis Hunter's played 2,600 snaps. There's a lot of snaps where he's a corner. There's no action.
Sure.
But it's the fact that he's put a lot into. He's had a lot of, not necessarily wear and tear, but there's just been a lot asked of him. So now when he gets to the NFL, if he plays cornerback, they're going to target him. They're going to make him tackle. They're going to make him tackle running backs. He's going to be battling bigger, more physical cornerbacks. And if you want to roll him over to wide receiver, he'll take less of a pounding at wide receiver. But I think that with Travis Hunter, where do you have more value? It may differ from team to team.
Right.
But we can find wide receivers, good ones, in the second and third round. You can't find guys with his ball skills and instincts. They are really hard to find. He's going to be he's got a chance to be a special corner.
Both of us have him as a corner, too. We agree with you.
Yeah.
We're with you.
Yeah.
And then the other part about it is this cornerbacks class is not very deep at the high level of the position.
Yeah, it's not. And so anytime you're looking at a position, you want to factor in what's second and third round going to look like. Where the starters round, right? Second, day 2. So if I'm looking at a rusher, this is a great year for Rush. Great year. I got a ton of them in the first. I could trade back into the first and go get a pass rusher if I'm the Giants, for example. If I need a defensive tackle or defensive end of any kind, I can find those through 3 to 4 rounds of the draft. If I want a really good cornerback, I got 1 round to do it, and it better do it early.
Yeah.
And so, I'm kind of the same mind. I'd rather find 2 potential All-Pros than, 1 All-Pro and then a lesser corner.
Same theory, Lance, and he knows how much I love Mason Graham. I think he's one of the top 5 players, top 3 players in this draft, non-quarterbacks. But when you consider how many good defensive tackles are going to be available, even though he's super special, you could understand if you passed him to get somebody later.
See, I don't think he's special.
You don't?
And this is what I mean. I'm going to save that word. I don't say elite, special, and I damn sure don't say generational all the time like the young people do now, where everybody is generational. Like, what generation? What are you talking about?
You can't have a generational guy every year by definition.
It's not generational.
Thank you.
So I think Mason Graham is one of the safest players in the draft. Phenomenally safe. He is going to be a really good pro. I don't know that he is going to get as many sacks as you want. Like Jalen Carter is special, right? I think Mason Graham's going to be a very good, productive defensive tackle, but to your point that you're making, like, he's no better than Walter Nolan to me, but he may be a better pro. But he's not more talented than Walter Nolan.
Traits-wise, he's not. No,
No,
you're
he's
right.
not.
Correct.
And Walter
Traits-wise,
Nolan's
yes.
more explosive as a rusher, too. You start going further back in the draft, and you find defensive tackles that can really play.
Right.
So I'm with you on this. Mason Graham, to me, is you draft him, forget it. You got yourself a good player.
Yeah.
So the only thing I'm saying is I'm not calling him special, but what I am saying is the guy's a lock. Like, he's going to be a good player. But I can get a good player at that position in round 2. In this draft, I can even get a good player in round 3 and maybe even round 4 who ends up being a starter. Now, the same impact level, no. But, it's a sliding scale. It's like, it's like those, remember those little, where we had to slide those to get the numbers set up the way you wanted to, those little games. That's what you're doing. You're sliding it in different directions to see what works. Or it's like a Madden game where you're building a player and you've got a certain amount of attributes that you get to put towards different things. So you got to figure out, okay, how am I going to level out these attributes that I have available to me? You're doing that with the draft too. You have a certain amount of picks and you say, what is the best conglomeration of players I can get with these picks with the highest total grades that we have on our board?
Huddle up, get in here. If you're lined up here, you gotta go over the middle with it to score.
Right. How do we make that happen?
I don't know, but Citizens does.
Make sense of your money with Citizens, official bank of Eli Manning.
Who's your favorite day 2 defensive tackle that you really like?
Let's see. I got to pull up my cheat sheet here since I've written up 346 and only
That's it? I mean, slacking.
5,500 over 2 years so far. I would say my favorite day 2.
Yeah, day 2 defensive tackle. There's a lot of them.
Yeah,
Someone to go next to Dexter Lawrence. Let me make it more specific for you.
Okay, next to Dexter
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm going Tyleik Williams from Ohio State.
Okay.
You think he makes it there?
I think there's a good chance.
Okay.
It depends on the run, how deep the run on defensive tackle goes. I think it's going to be close. So I think I'll give you a few names. Tyleik Williams. I think Alfred Collins from University of Texas as well would be a good one. And I would say maybe even trading back, and you can get him in the 3rd round, is Shamar Turner out of Texas A&M. He's had some physical stuff. I think he may have played on a broken leg or something like that. He's a really tough guy. He's got to cut back on the 15-yard penalties because this guy has a bad attitude when he's on the field.
In a good way, right? Yeah.
Well, it's not a good way when it's a 15-yard penalty, but yeah, he's one of those really nasty type of guys. But I'm looking here like, man, Jamari Caldwell from he can rush as well from Oregon.
Big boy.
He's a big boy. He can rush. He played, if you go, look at his tape the year before at University of Houston, they played him at defensive end, and he was dominant. He had spin moves, and he had how does this big guy move like that? Riley Mills, he's a perfect giant type, although he's really more of a 3-4 end from Notre Dame. I think Josh Farmer is another one that you stick there from Florida State. You stick him in the middle, and you just bully everybody. You say, you're not running it here. Sorry, Eagles. This is a no-fly zone in the middle of this defense. So, everything you're doing in the draft is how do you beat the guys who are beating you? You're thinking about that. And if one of them is Saquon Barkley, then you say, okay, do we need to get faster? Do we need to get more stout between the tackles? That's the decision-making process typically the GMs are rolling through.
Another very thick position is running back, although not so much at the top, a little bit more down.
Yeah.
Right? There's only a couple of guys that separate themselves. So if you're the Giants and you want to pair someone with the Tyrone Tracy running back room,
Who was one of my sleepers last year.
I remember that.
I love Tyrone Tracy. If you want to pair somebody specifically with Tyrone, we're going to go get – so Tyrone will run hard. He'll be physical. We want to be physical if we're the – so we're going to do one of two things.
Well, I want a thumper, Lance.
Okay, is that what you want? You tell me what you want. And
I'd like to have the thumper, but if you think someone else is a better fit, by all means, throw him out there for me.
No, we can get a thumper.
Do you like Scatterboo?
I do as a second back, yeah. And this is why. Because Scatterboo's not a lead back, 22 carries.
Right.
He's a guy that when you're feeling bad and you've been beat on a little bit, he's going to beat on you more, and he's going to make it worse for you. And so what you want to do is Tyrone Tracy, who's a hard-running guy. Then we got Scatterboo, who's a hard-running. Scatterboo will go out of his way to go hit a safety. Or
Yes.
like to the point that the coaches had to say, listen, just keep running. Stop looking for contact because you want to hit people. Don't do that. So he's one of those guys that he's specifically a bully for bully offenses. You pair him with another bully, and you beat teams up in the fourth quarter. That's Scatterboo. But there's another guy, Montrell Johnson, out of Florida.
Florida, right? Yeah,
An absolute hammerhead. He loves hitting people. Jordan James out of Oregon.
Yep.
He's another one that will hit you in the face. Like, if you want a thumper, Quinshon Judkins plays thumper ball too in the second round. O'Marion Hampton can be your number one. If he's there, you can have him as number one, and you can have Tyrone Tracy as a really good number two, and you can take a lot of pressure off your quarterback then, whoever your quarterback's going to be, because you've got a running game that can really beat on people a little bit, and an offensive line that you're still working on. But this is a great year to need a physical thumper of a running back.
Now, you go deep. You just talked about all the scouting reports you've written up. Are they up on NFL.com yet?
Yeah.
On the draft tracker?
Yeah,
they
you
are?
can. If you go find a draft tracker, you should be able to find them. Combine tracker, you should be able to find them. Yeah.
Everyone, make sure you go check that out. Who are give me 3 to 5 of Lance Zierlein's favorite guys to watch, most fun watches that you had going through some of your players this year?
Let me see.
They could be sleepers. They could be whatever you have.
See, I'm kind of weird. I'm going to tell you guys that I get excited about weird stuff. Guys who aren't
This is a football podcast.
No, don't worry. We're good. Let's see. Okay, I'll give you some.
JJ Pegues? No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's no more fun than watching a 325-pound defensive tackle have 26 carries this year. They direct snapped it to him, and he was a dominant short yardage back. Dominant. He's a former tight end turned defensive tackle. He has tape where he's really explosive. He has other times where he kind of turns it off. It almost felt like he was just cruising on defense because he couldn't wait to get to a carry. He couldn't wait to carry the ball. But he's really, really talented. Guys that I loved watching this year, Armand Membo from Missouri. I mean, his technique is so good. He's a great outside zone tackle who can play guard because he's not tall, but he's got good arm length. But I think he's tough enough to play in any run scheme that you want. He's 330 pounds, but great lean mass. It's not bad weight. So his technique, I'm the son of an O-line coach, so I was really, really excited to watch him play. I think there's a running back, let's see, Bashal Tootin from Virginia Tech. He's going to run in probably the 4.39 range this year. I think he has second-round tape. I think he's going to go into third probably. But to me, he's got good size. He's physical. I loved watching his tape. I was really excited to watch him and Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson, to me, might have had some of the cleanest running back tape I saw. Incredibly subtle, feels running lanes, keeps everything downhill, can very slight movements to avoid contact and keep runs on there. He's great around the red zone. He has a great feel for the end zone. You would never know that he's 200 pounds. He feels like a 212-pound running back, to be honest with you. Mac McWilliams, that's like a day 3 cornerback. Very sticky man cover cornerback, probably more of a backup cornerback who might develop into something more, but he really competed hard at the Senior Bowl. I loved watching him. He's so much better than he was the year before. And this guy, Braden Swinson from LSU. Holy cats. I watched him the other day, and I'm saying to myself, okay, when I start texting teams hey, what do you think of this guy? That means I want to see what they think. Braden Swinson, to me, is one of the up-and-coming pass rushers in this draft from LSU. They'll tell you he's a little high cut, the long legs. Right. It's harder to change direction quickly. If you watch the Ole Miss tape, he gives them a beating every single play. Just absolutely annihilates them. And pretty much every game he had, every rush, he ends up near the quarterback. He's long-armed. He knows how to use them. He's always playing with forward momentum. So even when you slow him down, when he gets to an edge, he's moving forward on you. Braden Swinson is the guy that I loved watching from LSU, and I think he is going to be a fast riser. And then here's a deep cut is R.J. Giddings from Clemson. He was one of the last guys that I wrote up as well. R.J. Mickens. I'm sorry. His dad was Ray Mickens, who played in the NFL.
With the Jets.
Played with the Jets. So this is his son. So he comes from football lineage. Mickens also has good size. He is not going to be fast, which is the knock on him. Tremendous instincts. He's tough. He doesn't miss tackles. Big, tough, reliable with NFL bloodlines. I thought he plays like a day 2 safety. Everyone in the league tells me he's a day 3 player, more like a a fifth, and they don't see him as anything more than an average backup, that's a guy I'm watching because I think I'm going to be right on him. And some of the teams I reached out to are wrong. So when I get guys like that, I really like, because Tyrone Tracy's one of those guys where I said, I think I'm going to be right on Tyrone Tracy.
I remember you liked him a lot.
Yeah, I liked him a lot, but then there have been other guys I've liked a lot that don't do anything. That's the way it goes when you write 500 of these.
No
guys
one's
a year.
perfect.
You're not a GM.
Yeah, I don't get fired for it.
The Giants NFL Combine coverage is presented by the Hospital for Special Surgery, the world's #1 in orthopedics. Choose better, move better. HSS, the official hospital of the New York Giants.
If you want to know how to manage 2 minutes of crunch time football, I'm your man. But if you're wondering about a long-term financial plan, you should talk to Citizens. Hey, I can also talk lawn care.
I'd like to learn about a mowing routine.
Yes, I knew I could help.
Make sense of your money with Citizens.
Let me go to the father-son thing for a second. Howard Cross, who's part of our broadcast team, his son, Howard Cross III, playing defensive tackle for Notre Dame. He's here at the Combine. He's going to get drafted.
Yeah.
Where do you see his best fit? Because I think he may be better in a scheme-specific type of situation.
100%.
And by the way, I want to throw R.J. Obin into that conversation too, a son of
Sure.
one of our fellow guys, Roman Obin.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Didn't quite make the Combine,
correct.
but we'll get a chance.
So offensive line sons, at least for Obin. Okay, so RJ should be at the Combine. He's got traits. He's very strong. He's not super productive, but usually the Combine has guys with traits, right? He's big, physical, long. He's a late round guy to me, but he's really, really strong. And Okura, I didn't like when Okura was drafted by you guys, the Giants, when he was, and yet he was somebody that played much more physical. He ended up being a little better rusher than I expected.
Romeo was an undrafted rookie free agent, though.
Was he undrafted?
Yeah, his
Okwara,
brother.
Romeo Okwara?
Yeah.
Yeah. Julian
His
went
brother got
higher.
No, I'm
drafted.
thinking of Romeo. And
Romeo was
ended up
undrafted.
making the team and starting,
Undrafted.
right?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm
Undrafted.
like, Romeo
Yeah.
Okoro, this guy's too stiff. He's not going to do anything. And then he's like starting for the Giants. I'm like, man, I mean, but
Well, he did even better with the Lions after he left us.
So what I learned from him was, okay, big, physical, strong. You have to prioritize that. Even if they're not super productive or they're a little bit stiff looking, you have to prioritize those things. And that's what RJ Obin has. He's big, physical, strong. And I thought of Okura when I wrote him up. I thought, man, this reminds me a lot of the kid from the Giants that the Giants ended up with, because he's a very similar type of strong, in your face.
Okay.
Who doesn't have a lot of finesse. I thought his Duke tape was a little better. I think Cross's 23 tape is better than his 24 tape. His production's way better, but he is very scheme specific. He is a one gapping up the field. He cannot hold up at the point of attack. He's too small. So he's not going to be a guy who holds up at the point of attack. He's not going to be able to take on double teams. He takes losses that are really bad losses. But when he is right and when he's first off the line and into the gaps, you got a lot of problems with him because he is a really dynamic sub-package rusher. I could see him like Kalijah Cansey, and he was a first-round pick for Cincinnati, where they said, look, he's small, but we're going to bring him in on third downs, and we're going to terrorize the interior line with a guy that's much faster than them. We're going to rush him, and then we're going to get him a little bigger, and we'll eventually let him have snaps on, rundowns as well as a rotational player. That's who I think Cross is.
Lance, good stuff, my friend. Always a pleasure to
Great
see you.
to see you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Again,
Thank
go to
you.
the Combine Tracker on NFL.com. All of Lance's reports are there. I have stole your grading scale, by the way, and that's what I use now for myself. So I
want you
use it
to.
in
We speak
comparison.
we speak the
It's
same
good.
language.
I appreciate that. So that's the Giants Huddle podcast, folks. All brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. From game day celebrations to your everyday financial needs, Big Blue fans can get the most out of every moment with Citizens. Learn more at citizensbank.com/Giants. Stay tuned to the Giants Huddle podcast, Big Blue Kickoff Live, for continuing coverage from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis.